Alright, moving on. This would be a lot of what your assignment will start to look like. Evaluate the expression x to the cubed, and I'm going to show you this calculator in a minute. X cubed, not to the cubed, x cubed, or x to the third, when x equals 8. The work you would show is 8 exponent 3, or 8 cubed, or 8 to the third power. Go ahead and calculate that out on your calculator. And again, I prefer that you use the power button, not 8 times 8 times 8. So your power button, if you have a calculator like this, is right here. Go ahead and type 8 power 3, and you're going to get 512. Evaluate means to simplify it all the way. Now, when you do k squared, when k equals 2.5, most calculators have a shortcut for squared. Get used to it and use it. It saves you time. That's why you all use abbreviations like BRB for be right back and NVM for never mind, because it saves you time. Here's your x squared button. It's right underneath your power button on this calculator. Let's see on here. If you look at each one of these, there's an x squared button right directly underneath your power button. This one has an x squared button down the middle. Decimal 258 parentheses x squared. This one has it right next to the power button. Go ahead and use your x squared button. So when you type in 2.5 squared, you get 6.25. But I'm trying to teach you shortcuts and help you get through things a little bit faster. Now this one, go ahead and write it down, d to the fourth, when d equals 2/3. I prefer, here, let me get where you can see me. I really, hold on. There, now I don't have a shadow. I really want you to use a calculator and get good at using fractions on your calculator. You learned fractions in probably 4th grade, but for sure 5th grade, started to get really good at them, or learned common denominators, multiplied by the reciprocal, least common multiple, all that kind of stuff. Now that you know it, or are supposed to know it, your calculator will do fractions for you. I'm not here to teach you fractions. You were supposed to already know that. I'm here to teach you algebra, so if you make a fraction mistake, I'd have to go back to your 5th grade math and reteach you. Instead, I want you to do fractions on your calculator. Algebra 2 is going to take you back to fractions because they're going to put x's over w's and m plus 3's over z plus 2's. So you'll have to work with common denominators and multiplying by the reciprocal again. But as for algebra, use your calculator. Go find your fraction button. Go see where it is. Practice it, get good at it. You're looking for the number 2/3. 2/3. On this calculator, you have a fraction button right here. It says n over d. I don't know if you can zoom in on those or not, but it's n over d. You can see where it is. On this calculator, down here by the 1, you have an A, B, C button that's showing you a mixed fraction like 2 1/3. On this calculator, it has a box over a box. Go ahead and try to type in 2, hit your fraction button, and then 3. It might write it like this, it might write it like this, it might write it like this, but that's what means 2 fraction 3. And this calculator, it's straight up the line from 0, 1, 4, 7 to another A, B, C. A, B, C. If you type in 2, fraction button, hit your fraction button on your calculator, and 3, and then your power button, whatever your power button is, 4, go ahead and try it. 2, fraction, 3, power, 4, and then hit equals, all when it's done. Mine automatically gives me a fraction of 16 over 81. That's what we want. We do not want any decimals. If you use 2 divided by 3, power 4, it gives you a decimal, which is not what we're looking for. No thanks on the decimals, always fractions. So 2 fraction 3 power 4. If this is something that you're struggling with, bring your calculator to me when you see me in class and show me how to do it. Or I'll show you how to do it. Or Google it. Go online. Look for it. All right, let's wrap this up. Just so you know, not all of your lessons will be this long. If this one takes 20 minutes or a little bit more, I bet you most of them will be 15 or less, but it is your first one. I do have to tell you about fractions. I do have to tell you about your calculator. Hopefully I don't have to break that down every time. And there was a lot of vocabulary on there. And with the vocabulary, it takes time to pause it, write it down, spell things correctly, however that works. So we'll finish this up with a word problem. Using an expression, we want to evaluate an expression. Please don't sit there and copy this down word for word for word for word. I don't want you to. I'm going to read it to you, or you're going to read it with me, and then we'll write down only what we need out of it. Every time you see a word problem, whether it's in notes, on a test, on an assignment, don't write the whole thing down. Just take the important information. The cost of filling a car's gas tank can be represented by the expression XY, which we know now is X times Y, where X is the price per gallon of gasoline and Y is the number of gallons purchased. You purchase 10 gallons of gasoline when the price per gallon is $2.25. Find the total cost. Notice we have an algebraic expression up here. It's not an equation, not an equal sign. What's important out of here? What are you going to write down? XY. You're going to start with XY because they gave you the formula. They gave you the expression. You don't even have to write this down over here. Write expression. But that's what you're going to do every time you see a problem. Next up, substitute in what you know. We know that the X is the price per gallon. Oh, look, I found it. $2.35. I didn't put the dollar sign though. 2.35. I know that the Y is the number of gallons purchased. You purchase 10 gallons. So put 2.35 in for X, put 10 in for the Y. So that's all we're writing down so far. Multiply it out, calculator if you want to, but again, yeah, I like you to use calculators, but I also like you to use common sense. Anytime you multiply by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, you just move the decimal point. However many number zeros there are. 23.5. Multiply. This is not the answer to our question. Please don't tell me that the answer is 23.5. Look at the question. Find the total cost. At what time do you go to a store, or do you go to McDonald's, or do you go to the theater and say, that cost me 8.5. That cost me 22.7. Okay, let's talk the language here. Let's get mathematical and real life. Simplify it. Your final answer is $23.50. Cost you $23.50. Yes, I know this is a super easy math problem, and you all have the skills to do this on your own, like gallons of gas times price per gallon. But it is also a process and a basic setup of how to do a word problem and how to set it up, so that when we get really much more in-depth, more complicated problems, you're not like, I don't even know where to start. What should I do? I hate word problems. These are dumb. I quit. I don't know math. I'm giving you the basics so that we can build on those and get bigger and bigger and more in-depth and smarter in our algebra and our word problems. All right, when you're done with this, you will go to Google Classroom.